beautiful branch is just naturally just flowing with the wind. I wanted to make a video just like telling my story about, I guess, my experience with this, what do you call it, program? I don't know what you would call it. Just wanted to give a backstory on what I know and the information that I learned over the years of me discovering that I was a so-called targeted individual. So, it all began, I think I would say 2017, April 12th, 2017, where I discovered, or I realized that I realized that things weren't right. I didn't know that I was targeted, but I really felt like things were just off with how everything was going on. During that time, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next in my life, seeing where I wanted to go next. And I also was watching a lot of conspiracy theories, like conspiracy theory videos on YouTube. Different YouTube channels, exposing the so-called societies of the world. Of course. But let's just say I started to just realize that the world wasn't what it seemed. After that, something weird started happening in the house. This alarm detector, or is alarm system that didn't work for the entire 4 years of me living inside the house, that alarm system never worked. And then all of a sudden it started to beep. It was beeping. And from then on, things started to get really weird. Around my family was acting really strange. People were acting really strange. People I didn't know, strangers in the streets, everywhere. I was just so mentally broken. Things trying to figure out about my life, and also just having this feeling that something wasn't right. That's when things started to really get weird. So it started to get really weird because at the time I was going to school, and I was trying to focus on my studies, and I noticed that the teachers as well as the students were acting really, really strange. And so I started to notice, when I say weird, I mean like their behavior was more odd, or it was odder than usual. So then I started to notice that my family, some of my distant relatives, were acting strange. They were doing and saying strange things. They were acting very weirdly. And they were basically targeting my immediate family to turn their backs on me. So we'll get to that in a second. So I'm, looking around. I'm like, what's going on? Is this really weird? Strange people are acting weird towards me. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know these people. Strangers. I had no idea what the hell was going on. So then, I finally, because at this time, I wasn't going on the internet. I just kind of like just trying to focus on myself. So that wasn't convenient at the time that this happened, and I realized that they did that strategically. Getting me away from the internet, getting me away from having access to the internet and my phone, to not really get what was going on, to see if I would really go batshit crazy. I feel like. Hold on. I finally get access to the internet, and I start looking up what's going on. And I come across these videos about targeted individuals and gang stalking and government surveillancing, and the watch list program and the blacklist program and all these things like that. So at first I was kind of confused, because I'm like, I don't remember ever committing any crimes, having to be put on some type of watch list, or I didn't, do anything. Like, I'm not a protester, I'm not an activist. I haven't done anything to cause attention or draw attention to myself. I needed to be investigated, or, I wasn't out here, protesting or being an activist or going against government institutes. What do you call them? Governmental fucking programs or establishments. I haven't done anything to be investigated by no government official. These people that are doing the footwork, which are the gang stalkers, these are random, strange people, strangers, and so that was confusing to me. And so then fast forwarding, I'm not trying to go into every detail, there's a lot of details, but, trying to summarize the story. So, I got I got access to the internet and I figured this stuff out. I'm like, oh my God, this is what's going on. Before I came across these, things, I thought, God had came back. This is a silly story. I thought God came back and there was the rapture already, and I didn't get raptured. And I was left here with all these people. I literally felt. So fast forward back to what I was saying. I got access to the internet and I figured that out. And so I'm at the point where I feel like I need to speak up. So I make a video, I put it on YouTube, and I start to try to tell my family about it. When I say family, I say like my immediate family. So they don't believe me, but remember what I just. So my mom and dad didn't believe me. They thought that I was crazy. They thought that I was doing everything on purpose, that I was purposely acting weird. I purposely didn't want to eat because I was starving myself. I was afraid to eat. I was afraid to sleep. I was dehydrated. All my weight, which is why I posted weight gain videos to just inspire people that have had weight issues, whether it's losing weight or gaining weight. And so that's what really helped me mentally, get back to myself. So back to what I was saying. My family didn't believe me. My parents didn't believe me. And I ended up moving out of where I was living. I was so distraught, emotionally, mentally. And so I ended up moving to a different state with my biological sister and my biological parents. Okay, so we'll get to my biological parents. But my biological sister, she is a perp. But once I, moved with her, I realized she was a perpetrator. I realized that her children were a perpetrator. And I realized she was a gang stalker. And so it was very shocking to see that my own flesh and blood would be so willing to jump on a program or a bandwagon to get on the hate sweetie train, you know what I mean? So it was pretty weird. So during this time, I'm living with my sister, and I'm bearing and going through all these things, and it was very stressful. Now, back when I was living with my biological parents, it was very hard for me because I was so used to, before I realized that I was targeted, I was so used to going to work and, providing for myself. At a very young age, was always used to, if I ever wanted something, I knew that I can get it myself if I worked for it. So I didn't understand why I wasn't able to, number one, get a job out there. Before I knew that I was, when I was mentally going through stuff, I was really, just couldn't bear it. But after those things passed, it was very heartbreaking for me to realize it was people really trying to stop me from trying to be successful or make something of myself. I got a job, I was working, continued to work, and saving my money and just focusing on the fact that I'm just grateful, for God to be there through the entire thing. And I understand that I'm going through what I'm going through, but I know that God is real, and I know that He's there and always will be there through every step of the way. So I was working and all this stuff, and I ended up just really realizing how heartbreaking it was to see my own flesh and blood target me, participate in a program I mean, it's another thing to see it from a stranger. Another thing to get it from your family. I ended up trying to figure out how the hell I can get out of my sister's house. It's like I was trying to figure out how I was going to get out of my parents' house, but it was in a more logical way, just saving my money, working, going to school, and moving out. But my, things didn't work out like that because I became targeted, and my parents thought I was lying. And so my parents ended up kicking me out because they thought I was like, so my parents ended up kicking me out of the house because they thought that I was lying about being targeted. Okay. So we'll get to that. Rewind to where I was talking about. I moved out of my parents. I moved with my sister. I was working. I was realizing I was getting, saving money. I was getting frustrated over the fact that I had to witness my own family, my own blood targeting me. So I tried to figure out how I can get out of my sister's house. And I came across interesting people that I already knew were perps. You know the saying, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So I felt like I wanted to get close to a person or a robot? I don't know. I don't know if they're even human. But that'll be a story for another day. I ended up moving out of my sister's house, moving into my first apartment with a perpetrator. And so there were so many blessings that I received from that experience with the person. And there were so many lessons that I was able to learn. And there were so many skills that I was able to master and gain from that perpetrator. And I'm not saying as far as the person. I mean, I don't want to get in detail and make it about a specific person because this program is much bigger than one does all the footwork. So we're not going to make it about a specific person, but I would say just the situation and the experience, I would say, was so eye-opening. And if it wasn't for that experience and the lessons that I learned and the skills that I obtained from that situation, I wouldn't be able to share the stories that I have to share today. So, but that's a story for another day. So rewind back to what I was saying. I moved out to my own place and, I was, roommating. That brings me to the point of me realizing what they were doing. And I kept saying that, remember the fact that I kept trying to tell my parents that I was targeted, that, I wasn't lying about what was going on and stuff like that. I had stopped talking to my parents for a period of time. And I wanted to cut communication off from them because I just felt like the experience that I went through with them before I knew they were perps, because my biological parents became perpetrators. But before they did become perps, I just really didn't want any contact with my parents at all. But after a couple months, I, started to talk to them again. My intuition, and I have really good discernment, I realized just the way that they were speaking, the tone of their voice, that they were perpetrators. They had ended up turning against me. The very people that kicked me out of the house because they thought that I was losing my mind and I was lying about being targeted, ended up turning their backs on me. I lost all respect for them. And it was so devastating to realize that I can no longer honor my parents. Because God said in the Bible to honor thy parents, but he also said to not tempt thy child. They always were devious and dark in the inside, and that's what made it so easy for them to turn their backs on me. So that was pretty trippy. Getting into contact with them was that was the most weirdest thing that I can ever have done. This will be a story. I'll make a specific video about the targeting of my biological parents. The law started to harass me. They started to get involved. I will make a video about the harassment of the police, the unlawful arrest, and the police brutality. You want to talk about Black Lives Matter? Because of this unjust, unlawful, just wrong, program in this group of people that I have nothing to do with, that wants everything to do with me, and I have done nothing to be investigated or have not actually went to actively be an activist anywhere to offend anybody to feel like this is just. I went through all of that. I was being harassed and targeted by strangers and learned things from a perpetrator themselves and realized certain things about this program that is absolutely just horrifying and just saddening. And they're just doing the footwork, and the bigger man is who's running, this society. And I'm wondering, why does this society and this government has me on their list or anywhere near them, and I have nothing to do with anything? And the videos that I'm going to make will explain how disturbing that they are. Am I anywhere near on any paperwork on anyone's desk that is associated with any society that is this disturbing? This program has nothing to do with you being investigated or you doing anything to be investigated with the government or nothing like that. Back to what I was saying, rewind. Hard. I didn't speak about it. I didn't make any videos about anything because I just really wanted to get an understanding. And I've gotten enough understanding. I feel like the Lord, the Creator, really spoke to me, to my heart, to my spirit, and said, you know enough. What they give to you or do to you for bad, he said that he will turn for your good. And I know that we do not battle between flesh and blood, but between wickedness and spiritually high places. And that's real. I know that this is not nothing to do with me. I know I'm getting off a topic, but that's bringing me to my point. It brings me up to now. I have tried to do the right thing and be the right person and be the bigger person to people. I have tried to extend my love, extend my hand, my kindness, even though I know that they are Judases. And I like to observe and get information from people just as much as they like getting information from me. So this person told me subliminally, not directly, and I read between the lines. They said, it has nothing to do with you being a bad person or you doing any bad things. I'm just trying to tell you or get across what I'm trying to say. What did they do to Jesus? And he didn't want to do nothing but spread the word and the gospel of loving one another, living a life of peace here on earth. But they wanted to murder him because they didn't want to hear that, because the church was too bothered in people submitting to them and giving them their taxes and tithes and having power and reign over society. Some things are inserted mentally, subliminally in your subconscious to speak about or say. That's a video for another day, what they call it MK Ultra mind control. But I'll talk about that in detail about what that really is about in another video. But in the Bible, when the government officials didn't even want to kill Jesus. You know who wanted to kill Jesus? Guess who? If y'all really read the Bible about, what was his name, Pilates, that the people wanted to go to tell that he wanted him to kill Jesus. They didn't want to kill Jesus. Guess who did? The people. The people. The people. They just wanted to scope out who Jesus was, and they said Jesus is harmless. But the people said, no, he's not. Right? So when a band of people come together and start egging each other on over something that they ain't know no shit about, or they feel like they have the authority to know about because they're doing a good job for their handlers, right? But if you're going to sell your soul to Satan, you might as well know who Satan is. I don't know if they feel like Satan is giving them love and blessings, but according to God, Satan is incapable of love. He cannot love you. He hates humans. Perpetrators are narcissists, and they do what their God says, which is do narcissistic, demonic, evil shit. Okay? But if you're a narcissist and you feel like that is what's pleasing to your, whoever, don't you think your creator or whatever, not your creator, but that is basically, yeah, it is their creator, but whoever they worship is a narcissist? I'm not going to even get into detail about that because that's not what this video is about. I briefly summarized my experience on when I came to realize I was targeted up until now. Now I'm still being targeted. Now I'm, being blacklisted. But before, when I was struggling to get a job, people kept saying, you need to work, you need to get a job. But see how you get off topic? That's how they make you sound crazy. When you open your mouth and start to talk about your story. So I hope I didn't get off track too much. I hope I wasn't all over the place too much. But everything connects. Okay. So now what I'm going through now, they're blacklisting me, I guess. They're trying to harass me about, my finances, about getting a job. I just got my first apartment, not my first apartment, my second apartment, whatever. The first one I didn't have to pay rent for, but this one, I'm so proud of myself. I've been trying to get a job, a full-time job. I've been trying to work hard. All I know is working for what you want. And they've been trying to target me and my finances and getting a good job in my career and bettering myself in my education. Yeah, so I'm spreading my story, but I know that I'm going to deal with a lot of people anyway. So even though I don't deal with nobody, I still deal with a lot of people. I don't care if you're a perp. I'll come and walk up to you and talk to you. And I know people will. Why do I do that? Because people try to come up and walk and talk to me. But they're demonic. And their intentions are demonic. I have 100% confidence. My confidence is on 1,000, 1 million, 1 billion, 100 infinity billion. Okay? So they try to make you feel some type of ways sometimes and bring you out of your energy, whatever. But if you don't know somebody, why the fuck they matter? They know you, and that's up to them. You can be whatever and have whatever feelings or animosity towards me, and you feel like you know me, but you can't expect me to give a fuck. You can't. You can't expect me to care. Because I don't know you. I never sat down and had a conversation with anybody who's a perpetrator, so I wouldn't know why they're targeting me. I don't know why I'm targeted. I would say I wouldn't know why I'm targeted because I've done nothing to be targeted. Okay, which brings me to the end of my story. I believe, yes, I've been targeted since a young girl. These people are pedophiles. These people are sexual predators. These people are sex offenders. These people are criminals. These people are narcissists. These people are demonic. But when I looked back in my life, I realized that this has been going on way longer. Because they will watch you for a long time to learn everything they can. And they'll watch you. And then they'll come up with the fucking tactic to really narrow in on you. And they've been doing all this shit. So for my family to actually join into it. So that's it. I hope I wasn't all over the place with my story about my targeting. So to answer a couple questions for myself or whoever wants to know, how did I become targeted? I don't know. Why am I being targeted? Because I think because they know that I would never be a perp. I don't know. And why do I think I'm targeted? I don't think I am targeted. I think that these people are demonic, that this is not a battle between flesh and blood. That's what I think. So that's it. All the little stuff that I said about making videos about other detailed stuff, I'll do that. So stay tuned.